Hello again, everybody. This is Amorgin, and you're very welcome to this second edition community panel discussion where we discuss all things Star Trek Fleet Command. And up today, guys, we have from Server 28 once again hecking around beyond the stars. We're also joined from Server 131, Scopuli. Scopuli has decided to quit the game. Sad news for the community. A contributor to my videos and a lot of comments and suggestions from Scopuli. We'll get into his reasons why he's decided to quit later on. But in the meantime, we're going to get it discussing this new content, this Ferengi, Devore, G3 nodes and all of that kind of stuff, guys. So grab your cuppa, as always, sit back, contribute with your comments below, or come and join us in Discord. Okay, so heck, you have to drop out. It's your sister's birthday and it's dinner time, so we'll not keep you too long. Feel free to nip out whenever you need that. And we've also got Scopuli, who his wife has just come in, I think, and he's being called, I think, as well, so it's getting late for us. So we'll make this a quick enough one, and we're going to jump straight into ship hangars, transporter currency, and G3 nodes, all been improved in the game. Transporter currency obviously being a new thing. I'll start with you, Heck, on that if you want. Have you any thoughts on that? Good, bad, ugly?
Yeah, so I really do like the fact that they have made it available for us to choose which officer shards we want to get now. You know, as a free-to-play, though I doubt I'll ever max an officer, a rare or epic to say the least. You know, just being able to choose, getting player freedom involved, that's a great thing, in my opinion at least. I think the community would agree with that as well. And, you know, improving ship hangar space, that's definitely nice. Because, you know, some people went ahead and just built a bunch of ships. I've definitely talked with a bunch who, you know, filled up their hangar with a bunch of Fortunates and Findras.
Right.
You know,
not a good idea.
But, you know, they learned from it, but, you know, they didn't have that space. So, you know, hopefully in the future there'll be a way to get rid of those useless ships. And, you know, get them for something like ship parts. Or, you know, Latinum resources, something nice.
Yeah, it's something that's been called for a while, is to be able to do something with them ships. Scopuli, bad news with you. You're leaving us. There's a couple of reasons why that we'll get into at the end, if you don't mind. But ship hangars, transporter currency, and G3 nodes, anything in that has affected your decision?
Probably more the stuff around the Ferengis than anything else, to be honest. I do like the sounds of most of like ship hangars and more GC nodes and officer currencies. I think like I would have probably really liked it if you could earn the shards on the common officers as well, and potentially if you've got enough from a lower category of officer, you can upgrade them to be a token for a higher tier officer.
I don't have many thoughts on that. The G3 nodes, it's probably, to me, it's the most effective thing that out of those three that's been brought in. I get that people have filled up their hangars and whatever else, but I think the G3 nodes going forward is probably something that people are going to be most pleased with.
Game changer as well, to say the least. Because, you know, Pajam used to be like 3 nodes, now it's got like 15, which is really nice. You know, I don't have to compete as much for those nodes because more of those higher levels can go up to higher level systems where I can't even reach yet with an envoy. And, you know, I have less competition down at the lower levels, but there's still plenty of it. But just less competition overall helps people mine, do dailies, and keep them active.
Fair to say overall that those three items, I'll ask you both, what do you think? The ship hangars, transport currency, and G3 nodes, all part of the good in this latest round of content and updates and all of that?
Yeah, that is all very good for the game.
Yep, definitely. Definitely needed. Yep.
Okay, now if we move on to the bad and the ugly, lads, I mean, we could start anywhere with some of this. We don't want it to be all negative, but you mentioned there a wee while ago the Ferengi. Would you put that into the bad or the ugly, or what? You mentioned that Scopuli is part of your reason for quitting.
I'd say it should be part of the good, but the way it's being carried out, it's part of the bad. To me, the ship would most benefit the free-to-play players or the people that pay occasionally. But it's completely cut off to anybody that wants to be free-to-play, or at least it is at the moment. Anyway, I think if you're a higher tier person that pays more often, Latinum's not a problem for you. If you don't pay at all, it's quite a problem. So just being able to get some guaranteed Latinum every day would be really nice, but the ship's completely cut off to you.
Well, we'll come to the ship in a bit more detail in a minute. The idea of the Ferengi, though, being brought in, we'd made a comment in the last video. Heck, you might remember we were discussing the Ferengi as a possible faction coming in. Now, it's not quite a full faction, but they're here, and we'd mentioned about Scopuli being like the Ferengi, and I've seen these comments now on some of the forums like that. People are saying the Scopuli are like the Ferengi. We had called this, we had said this. Have you any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to agree with what was just said. You know, as a free-to-play, I'm low on Latinum usually, so I know there are some people on the server with over 1 million Latinum, and I'm like, what are they going to need a ship that mines Latinum for? You've got over 1 million. That's not going to go anywhere quickly. So, you know, it's mainly for free-to-plays, because it doesn't even give out too much anyways. Like, 75 for one batch. I think it's actually every level. But it's just too little for people who spend money. And the free-to-plays, they added it 10 BPs to the 30-day chests for higher levels, because level 18, I can tell you don't get it. So you have to be probably level 23 to get anything for this ship. Yeah, and 360 days to get all of those BPs.
Yeah. It is a real Ferengi move, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I think they haven't been really paying attention to the community. Like, for some major things, like, let's say customer support, bugs. Like, they've been patching some, but it seems like they're coming out with more bugs.
Well,
So,
that's a
before they
nice
release-
segue into the next item that we were going to talk about, is on bugs, and how every time they seem to bring in new content, they break the game. I've done videos on this that they broke the game, you know, and it's not a new thing.
There have been plenty of bugs, and there's been, I can definitely tell you, there have been game-breaking bugs almost every patch from what I remember. I mean, I wasn't around at the beginning of the release, but I came in like in February or something. But I always remembered there was some bug, something that the community would complain about, Panic might have had to make an announcement about, or just like, I think like the last patch we started having ships just start doing those figure eights randomly, and that's been very annoying to say the least. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's one bug that I found particularly hilarious in the patch when they introduced the ability to turn your phone portrait. And you could basically launch the game in a way that the whole game launched portrait on your phone. So it was all squished really narrow.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Hopefully there's patches out there. I think there's a patch available at the minute, is there? I think you'd spotted one, Heck, had you?
Yeah, there was an update. I'm not sure if there was a patch.
Right.
But they changed it to where you can see if your ship is overprotected cargo, which is actually very nice.
Okay.
So I don't have to go manage another ship and then switch to that ship.
So we're not certain at the time of recording whether these bugs are fixed yet then. I certainly was experiencing my fair share earlier, and too many to get into. But we'll move on to the Devore. This is what everybody's been talking about. It looks like a beetle. Some people reckon it looks like a roast piglet. All the community's been out there with their gifs and their memes about it at this stage, and yeah, there's been a call for to kill on sight and stuff as well. We'll come to that sort of stuff in a minute. But what's your take on the ships? I'll start with you, Scott, if you don't mind. What's your take on that ship? From what
I
you
like
can see?
the look of the ship personally. I think it looks quite interesting and quirky compared to other ships, but I think that's probably more or less it for me.
Yeah. It's not getting you excited enough to stay.
No, you have to pay to buy it. It doesn't follow the sort of trend that you got with the Botany Bay or the Franklin when there was events that free to plays could do to unlock the ships. Particularly like with the Franklin, and I imagine the Devore as well. I'll be hopefully be proven wrong, but like the Franklin, I'm level 28 and I can't tier it up anywhere near high enough to be useful in my daily swarm kill missions. I'm hoping the Devore won't prove the same, but for mining Latinum, like if it gets too expensive to tier up, then that would kill it for me.
I'm thinking it will be that way. That because there's always just those tiers.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yeah, I just try to keep it real. Like from like the first look at it. First thing I went into details and everything, I saw that protected cargo, and that was the most every ship in the game has at tier 1 when you build it right off the bat. And I was like, ooh, it could be, one of those overnight miners and replace what people were doing with the Botany Bay, except it could actually probably mine faster, hopefully. That's where I was more looking at it. I wasn't looking at the Latinum mines because they weren't out yet. Or at least I hadn't seen them, But then, I saw those times on those Latinum mines. It was ridiculous for regular ships, regular miners.
Yeah.
It should not take that long to mine Latinum. That's definitely a paywall because I could definitely sit an envoy over that on one of those nodes and not go OPC. Yeah. I wouldn't have to worry about that thing for a day.
Yeah, I think one of my ships was 28 days to empty the node.
Yeah,
some of that's ridiculous. Yeah. What about the amount of blueprints, the daily rewards having to be completed for practically a year, the availability for free to play? You had mentioned earlier it's not available for free. Well, one of you guys mentioned earlier it's not available free to play, but technically it is. Technically, it's available through your chests, your 30-day loyalty chests.
Yeah, you can get it through the 30 days alone, but you have to be over a certain level for the blueprints to even show up. Because I'm looking at the level 18 right now, and they don't show up.
Okay, and is that what you meant by level 23 earlier? You have to be 23 for them to even show up? Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking level 23, maybe 22.
Okay, well, we'd be happy to hear from anybody in the comments below or on Discord for anybody that has had a similar or different experience when it comes to the availability of these shards in the 30-day loyalty chests. But even for those that can obtain them, it's quite a siege. It's a year of trying to open these chests. But to my mind, this is similar to the Carol Marcus shards that sit beside it now in the 30-day loyalty chest. But do you guys remember that there was a time when everybody was giving out about Carol Marcus shards?
Yeah, there was a time when you could essentially buy Carol Marcus and then she sort of disappeared, and now she's available again through Epic chests.
Yeah. I remember you had to pay $200 in US money to get her.
How far back is that?
I think that was back in like June, May, possibly.
So we're talking 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I reckon we're talking something similar to that, maybe even sooner, given the community outrage that's there. we're probably talking a similar length of time or shorter. And this ship will be, blueprints for this ship will be available just as easily as Carol Marcus shards will be through events and whatnot.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, you saw what I showed you about the jellyfish and like
Yeah.
how when um at level 18 now there's Starfleet Academy and they finally added that feature. And back when I was originally going through the jellyfish and I was like obtained through events and all that, I thought it was just that one event that gave out 25 blueprints that occurred like once a month that they stopped doing. But no, they started up this Starfleet Academy thing that gives out Spock shards, stone shards at certain levels, and at level 18 there is an event that runs for 2 days, and after 2 days it starts again, and it just goes on and on, hasn't stopped, but every milestone gives out a jellyfish blueprint.
Right.
So if I stay level 18 long enough, I could get 3 jellyfish.
Okay.
They should do something with like that for the ship.
How long before you get 1 jellyfish? Roughly.
Well,
for a free
there
play.
are 4 milestones, and you have to mine 50,000 of G2 materials, so I'd say probably another 2 or 3 weeks at most.
Okay.
Before I get the first one.
Okay, so 2 or 3 weeks to obtain the jellyfish isn't bad, given that the only way to get it at one time, other than the event, was to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what is left. I mean, I've already been on this for like 2 weeks at least. Because I'm at 58 now, and I started back at... This event started when I had about 30 blueprints.
Right.
At least it's not a whole year, and having to not miss a single day of daily maximum tier.
I could get more than 3 jellyfish in a year if I stayed at level 18.
Yeah. Now, bearing in mind that this is an epic ship.
Yeah, and the jellyfishes are rare, though.
Yeah. That could be the justification for that. However, I do believe that the uproar that's out there in the community, it'll be heard. I do believe that there'll be a wee bit of a climb down on this. I hope I'm right about that. There are people calling for boycotts and people calling for all sorts of things. Have you any thoughts on that? I'll start with you, Scott, if you don't mind.
I think Scopuli have been smart enough to set the price tag just low enough that they know people will buy it, whether people try to boycott it or not. I don't think a boycott really would work. And killing on site is just going to annoy other players on your server. It's not going to do anything to Scopuli. If anything, it might trigger people buying more packs.
Yeah.
So I think... I completely disagree with the paywall being there, but I don't really agree with a boycott or a kill on site, to be honest.
Right. A question for you, Beyond the Stars. Heck, you're going to be playing this game going forward the same as I am. Where Scop isn't going to have to deal with kill on site or no kill on site because he'll be busy apologising to the wife for taking so long with this video. But are we looking here at the community now being put in a difficult situation of having to choose sides, essentially, between supporting a call to kill this ship on site as a protest to Scopuli for the paywall, or deciding what they want to do with their own money and buying this ship if they want to buy it, and it just being another feature of the game like the jellyfish was or anything else?
Well, like how the community's been, like we adapt, say the least. Like Botany Bays, people started using those to keep nodes overnight and just node hog. So, that's a different story, but it still shows how the community adapted to it. But I think, honestly, if you want to buy it, just know what you're getting into beforehand, because if your server's going to be pro killing these things, then buy it at your own risk, because you're the one who should be informed. Like, I have the ship info Discord, which we've got the first couple of tiers for it, right now, but that I can tell you that thing's not going to be defending itself. That is not going to be a North Star or anything.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's more of like an uncommon ship than it is going to be an epic.
I certainly wouldn't be recommending, and I've always said this in videos, I wouldn't be recommending people to go out necessarily and buy a product or do whatever. I always encourage people to make up their own minds, and you're right about the risk if there is a policy developed on certain servers to kill the ship on site, then yeah, that's a risk you have to take if you're determined to get it. On our server, certainly, I don't think people are going to be like that. I think people are going to go and buy it if they want to buy it, and there might be a bit of joking with them and a bit of slagging with them, but I don't think anybody's going to go for a kill on sight of this ship.
Yeah.
I think that would be looked at as nonsense, to be honest with you, or it would give a lower level players the opportunity to create mischief with higher level players, maybe.
Yeah, but look at the positive side. If they don't watch it, that thing's gonna go over protected cargo pretty quickly. So
True enough. I did get my first kill on one of them earlier on today. A wee shout out to one of the Borg lads on my server who provided me with that opportunity. But yeah, there's been a call as well for a boycott. I don't want to get too much into this here, but it's being talked about by some other community leaders out there, people who have Discord channels and are a bit influential.
well, I mean, it is kind of a way to make a statement, but I've seen multiple companies continue their practices even after boycotts were done. One of such boycotts was with Call of Duty a couple years ago when they started implementing loot boxes, and they boycotted, but it didn't last long because Activision, they just have so much money. Don't be surprised if you boycott if they keep up their practices.
That's it. And listen, I've got into trouble with them for giving out about them and whatever, but in my experience and some of the guys I've worked with there, sometimes they do listen.
But there's just the possibility.
I don't know if a boycott will. I know hurting them in the pocket is always a strategy, but I don't know if a boycott will work myself. I certainly would have to discuss with these other community leaders that are talking about this what their plans are post boycott. If this practice continues, if you boycott for 2 weeks and then end it, is that just the end of that? I don't think it's necessarily the best road to go, but listen, I have my own ways of getting Scopuli's attention. They know it and I know it. So I want to bid Scopuli a farewell from everybody that has played with you and all the guys that you've interacted with on my Discord channel and on my videos and all of that there. I hope you're not going to be a stranger.
No, I'm definitely going to stick around. I've been speaking to my Alliance friends and stuff. I'm not going anywhere in terms of the people I've been talking to. It's just, for me, the game's over.
Okay. Well, anything just on your reasons why? Is there anything you want to share with us as to what specifically made you come to the decision?
It's a combination of things, really. I've been playing on server 131 since probably Christmas, and I really enjoyed the game at the start. Found a great group of players to play with, formed an alliance, loved competing with them to try and grow faster than them, and I had set myself a rule that I wasn't going to spend any money, and I managed to keep up with some people that were spending until sort of early 20s, level-wise. Eventually the game managed to entice me into spending some money, and then I told myself, well, I'm enjoying the game, I'll spend some money. Wound up spending probably equivalent to some games like World of Warcraft or EVE Online's annual subscription. And then said to myself, well, hold on a minute, am I getting the same amount of enjoyment as I would out of those other games? And that kind of made me say, well, I'm not going to spend any more cash, but I'll keep playing, I'll keep enjoying it. But just kind of as I progressed and leveled, I'm now at 28. I feel like I've hit a brick wall with even commons, uncommons, Latinum, things that you need to be able to upgrade ships, build buildings, do researches. I can't do anything. Like, I've not been doing ship building. I've not been doing construction or research for like a week or two now, which pretty much means that I can't get the maximum tier in daily events, which means I probably won't be able to get this new ship. And it just feels like every time Scopuli release some new content that should make me excited and like reinvigorate my interest in the game, something happens, like the Franklin being utterly useless unless you bought all the upgrade packs as well. And then this paywall for the new ship. For me, basically, this was one time too many, not enough new content for sort of, I wouldn't call myself 100% free to pay, but paying a bit, like if I've set myself a goal of an annual subscription for other games, then I'm still paying a decent amount of money to Scopuli to get content. And I just don't feel that they've been offering it, so I can't justify continuing to pay anything or be tempted to pay anything. Because I know if I keep playing, eventually I would wind up buying something else.
Yeah, and that's a whole debate around how Scopuli would keep customers. There was an article released recently, and we'll not get into that. That might be a video for another day. You might come back and do that with me. It might be an interesting one for the two of us to sit down and discuss it. Is this article that's been doing the rounds about seemingly around Scopuli's policies regarding retention of customers and encouraging them to spend? It obviously hasn't worked with you, you know?
Yeah. I found myself enjoying talking to my alliance mates on Discord more than playing the game. So I've decided basically to cut out the playing the game side of things.
Scopuli saying there that 28 was the point that he hit where it's like just a wall. It just there's no getting past it for him. Are you feeling that where you're at on your main account?
Yeah, I'm starting to get there with ore, you know. I was having a hard time. I had to grind out the events and, you know, going into the Klingon faction space and then having my Kamari trashed immediately because of the spawn locations. You know, that wasn't very helpful either on the fact. So, you know, I couldn't always do the events, so I couldn't get enough uncommons, so I finally managed to upgrade one weapon, but now I'm lacking ore, so I really can't do vault upgrades, etc. So, you know, I'm starting to hit that point with at level 25, but I mean, if I do the events, then I could probably still get there, but because I know 26 is gonna start taking a tough time as well. I've got the crystal saved up for the Unlock Horizon, but
I think it has to be tier 5 or 6 before it's too useful, and you do need to invest a fair amount of crystal in it, but once you get there, it's definitely a bit of a game changer.
yeah, it doesn't help that, you know, I'm anti-Klingon. That's the one faction I'm not friendly with.
Yeah, I'm Romulan, so I struggled to get the crystal as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It just feels like too much of a grind for me.
Occasionally I just have to warp in 2 ships and hope for a node.
Yeah.
One ship gets targeted and the other ship mines. And then I warp out the ship that gets targeted.
Yeah, I feel for you lads. I really do. Like, I really wish that the other servers would be brought into line in terms of how we get refines.
Multiple refines.
Yeah, you know, I really wish that they would just roll that out everywhere. And just it would kill that whole argument. But anyway, that's something for another day as well.
Another kicker for me was those the Galaxy research having you can pay basically to get extra refines. If it'd be achievable to potentially get the requirements for that prime without spending the £100 or whatever it is.
I mean, let's be honest here. Even
that would be okay.
When 4-star, yeah, but when 4-star comes out, like, how am I going to reach those 4-star systems and get those? And how am I going to get to the level where I can refine them? Also, how am I going to get so many of those uncommons or rares? Like 1,000 as a free-to-play and not use any of them on like a ship I get at that point?
Yeah, and I like something that makes me curious in terms of the future, where this game is in the future. And now, in the last time we were talking, on the last panel discussion that we done, somebody made a comment about free to play is going to improve once G4 comes in. All the G3 is going to be easier, and we've seen that with the G3 nodes now. They're easier to. It's easier to get a node now. That them systems like Pajem you were talking about.
Definitely been hinting at this,
right?
But
so we're looking at a different climate in a couple of months' time, maybe. But what I find myself wondering about is if all of the players that are hitting level 30, high 20s, start to run into these difficulties and eventually quit. How do they expect that these people are going to entertain the whales on the servers? Who are they going to be raiding? Who are they going to be fighting with? It's the mid-level guys who've spent a certain... It's the Dolphins, I think you mentioned it, Heck, that the whales will feed on. So...
Yeah, like, the newer server, it's mainly Dolphins at the lower level 20s that the whales that are in the high 20s are raiding. And all the free-to-plays are still in their teens, so, they're on limited because there aren't that many people over level 20. There's probably 50 or 60. Well, if there's server merges, I think they'll get rid of some servers so they save some money, because, you have to pay to support a server and have one. But the other servers, they'll get more active in return. I mean, that does have its downsides, like you'll have to start competing again for 3-star nodes and events.
Myself and Thaler were talking about this idea of how games are developed and where Scopuli are at and how you get across ideas to them, and seemingly they've listened to some of Thaler's ideas or the ideas that he compiled from the Ideas and Suggestions channel, and one of them would have been the Ferengi. He was very keen on the Ferengi, for example, and it happened, and that had been bandied about along with the Borg for a while in the Ideas and Suggestions channel, and he's a man that knows the industry, so it'd be a good question to get him in some stage maybe in the future and talk about not only their policy around getting people to spend money and spend more money, but in that document we were talking about, but maybe to talk about the sustainability of a game like this when the Dolphins are quitting, the mid-range players aren't going to be there. How does a mobile game sustain itself?
Yeah, you need all sorts of people to sustain a game. You can't just have two types. There's always got to be that middle group.
I want to thank you, Heck, for taking the time out and joining us. I know you're busy. And I want to bid Scopuli farewell from us again. But on the good note of inviting you back to do another one with us just in a couple of weeks' time maybe or something. And just where things are at with you at that point, and maybe discuss aspects of the game like we'd mentioned earlier around the Scopuli strategy for getting people to spend. It might be an interesting one. But it's fair to say, would you agree that the final part, the paywall and all of that the community, people thinking of quitting, all of that's the ugly part? That's
yeah, like part of me, I don't want to put people off playing the game because you can get quite a lot of enjoyment out of playing it, so I don't want to throw too much ugly at them, I guess.
No bother. 100%. Right, lads, thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
No problem.
Thanks.
And we'll see you again shortly, hopefully, in another panel discussion. And until the next time, guys, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And I'll catch you all again very soon. Cheers.